Yeah. Executive session now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the May meeting of the Finance Committee to order, whether you're sitting or not. Do we have any public comments today?
We do, Mr. Chair. We have 4 in-house and 3 online. The first speaker is David Kupferberg, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good afternoon. I'm David Kupferberg, Vice President of Bus Advocacy, Passengers United. At last month's Finance Committee meeting, the In-City Railroad Monthly Pass Fare pilot was on the agenda. Advocates have been calling for free bus and subway transfers to and from the commuter railroads for a long time. No other options were considered for the pilot. The Finance Committee approved the pilot unanimously, and the MTA board did the same at their monthly meeting the next day. I feel that advocates have been talking to the MTA about these issues through a brick wall. The proposed pilot is an insult to our intelligence. If the MTA is transparent, it would not be implementing the pilot until other options have been explored. Shame on you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, who will be followed by Brian Fritsch.
Good afternoon, Finance Committee. Good afternoon, Kevin. Sammy. I will surely miss you once you are leaving the board. But let's go for more intelligent solution for our beloved agency. We know that congestion pricing will start, let's say, a month and a half from now. But let's provide a little bit of discounts. We know that agencies like Chicago, CTA, LA Metro, Sunrail in Orlando, that's 10 years old as of this month, among others, they have something similar to us that is fare capping. But get this, folks. LA has system-wide weekend travel for their commuter rails for a whopping $10 for their commuter system for the entire weekend. If we have something like this for the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, that could be a bargain. Let's see if we could implement this for our system. That could be a lot of people taking the commuter rails, and that could get people out of cars into the trains, like people like me taking the system for a whopping 9 years already. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brian Fritsch, who will be followed by Cameron Best.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Fritsch, Associate Director for the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. This morning at the Triple Joint Committee meeting, we heard extensively about changes coming to Omni and ETICS and how they will eventually coexist. We understand the path being charted to clean up Cubic's mess while maintaining train time success and look forward to the day we will have integrated fares. The actions you will take today will bring us closer to that day, with one linked MTA account for riders who opt in. Integrated fares will also allow for more and better discounts, something a PCAC advocates for vociferously. We hope that end use will be seamless for riders and that doubters will be proved wrong. We are particularly pleased that in-house talent and ingenuity will be used. You will also take action on monthly discounts for west of Hudson commuters with new and better service and service options, something our Metro North Railroad Commuter Council has long called for. Commuters on both railroads will be incentivized to ride on summer weekends with additional temporary railroad fare promotions. Coming in advance of congestion pricing, we hope that more people will be encouraged to get on board with their families and enjoy all our beautiful region has to offer. Hopefully, it'll be a good way for people who haven't ridden in a while to ease back onto the rails. You will also take action on a new lease for 2 Broadway, and we are really looking forward to the new options that will come with it. Don't get me wrong, we love Rosen's and will continue to patronize it, but variety is truly the spice of life. That spicy variety is why we continue to look forward to the day when riders will be able to use one ticket or tap or app to ride on Metro North, the Long Island Railroad, and New York City Transit. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cameron Best, who will be followed by Charlton D'Souza.
Hello. Earlier, we heard from the MTA board about implementation of Omni in the train time app, and there were some really good questions about specifics of how that was going to work. And I think it's still a bit confusing for what is specifically going to be implemented, and also for the benefits that it's going to provide for customers. So I think that if the current plan with Omni is going forward with the train time app, the MTA should make sure that if there are any combined fares or fare incentives, that those are put in place before the train time app, before Omni is implemented into the train time app, so that there's only one transition for customers so that they know that there's an incentive for them to use Omni with the train time app. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Charlton D'Souza, who will be followed by Matt Bucky's Highland.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president of Passengers United. And we are, we're not happy about Omni today, obviously, in the announcement that was made. But we understand why they're doing it, because the MTA is trying to save money and they're trying to get this out faster. So we get that. But there has to be a paper ride option and a paper option for those who don't have mobile phones, don't have bank accounts. There has to be a plan for those people. And then the other thing is, we're very happy that the LIRR and Metro North is offering its monthly ticket holders the Summer Saturdays promotion, and that the Summer Saturdays promotion is back. That was something Philip Eng started during his tenure, and we're very, very happy that Rob Free is doing this again on his end, and Kathy Rinaldi. So that's some good news. I just hope monthly pass holders in zones 1 and 3 will also get to benefit from this, because that would really, really be great. And otherwise, we really need the city ticket weekly. That has to be done. And I don't understand why y'all just can't have a weekly paper ticket just for the railroad and Metro North and just reduce that. You don't even need a MetroCard option right now, because you guys are working on setting the systems. But a temporary measure would just be to have a discounted pass. So maybe instead of $76, maybe the pass should be like $30 for the railroad and Metro North. So that could be done in the meantime while you're trying to work out the longer systems. And as far as Nice Bus is concerned and Beeline Bus, you'll have to rush to put the Omni readers on those buses, because 179th Street, Parsons Archer, those are big stations, and we need more Omni vending machines, and we need them to work in those stations. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matt Bucky's Highland, who will be followed by Alita Dupree.
It's Matty David, but anyway, good afternoon, folks. I'm Matty W. Bucky's Highland. Today, I want to speak about congested pricing and the impacts on New Jersey. Last Tuesday, May 14th, the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee met under its chairmanship of Senator Paul Sarlo, considered raising the New Jersey sales tax from 6.625% up to 70%. To pay for Governor Phil Murphy's 2025 operating budget. But, we don't know if Senate President Nicholas Scutari or Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin will be interested in that for that matter. And second of all, as someone who's trying to apply for reduced fare MetroCard, as someone living with autism, it's difficult with Omni coming into the mix. And one more thing before I let you go, Commissioner Zuckerman, if next time you make a mistake, instead of calling me just call me Maddie. All right, Neil. Thank you. Have a great Memorial Day, everybody. God bless you, joy you. David, over to you.
Thank you very much. Our last speaker today is Alita Dupree.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Still morning where I am. To the chair, Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Holtz. To talk about some different things about finance. Can't say I'm an expert on finance, though I actually do have level 1 options trading approval. How about that? I think about things both conceptual and mechanical. Did look at the pension piece of this. We're underfunded. I mean, that's pretty common among public agencies. But I do think that how do we get that up so we can have more investment return to make sure we pay these pensions? And I mean, we are paying our pensions, but it's a long-term structural thing that we always want to look at. And the basic charts of financial performance are looking good. Revenue looks like it's tracking higher than population count. I guess it means we're collecting more money per person. And while I do think that 2019 is a good benchmark to look at because of the disruption pandemic, we also want to look back before then, because some agencies I've seen actually have had higher transit ridership pre-2019, and then it declined. So there are several benchmarks we can look at. And when I think about the mentions earlier about the contactless credit and debit cards, transit was really the driver for banks issuing that. So how can we, as an agency, with over $1 trillion market value, engage with our stakeholders to hopefully have more user-friendly pricing systems for electronic payment? We're a big agency and we can have big conversations. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public speaking portion of the meeting.
Thank you to all our public speakers. Next, we will have approval of the minutes for the April 29th meeting. Are there any corrections? Anyone care to cast a motion? Motion, second. I hate it. The minutes, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Minutes are approved. Moving on to budget, David?
Thank you. The year-to-date April 2024 preliminary results compared with the adopted budget were unfavorable by $86 million, or 7%, while the month of April was unfavorable by $72 million, or 27%. However, reported operating expenses were significantly impacted by a positive accounting adjustment of $43 million in March that reverses accruals of 2023 headquarters expenses. Without this one-time adjustment, unfavorable preliminary operating results would have been worse. The April year-to-date deficit would have been $128 million. Operating revenues on a year-to-date basis were $10 million favorable, less than 1%. While passenger revenues were $57 million unfavorable, this was offset by favorable toll revenues of $38 million and favorable other operating revenue of $29 million. As a reminder, the adopted budget includes below the line a farebox revenue loss provision of $100 million for 2024 to offset unfavorable passenger revenue results. For April, operating revenues were $5 million, or 1% favorable. Passenger revenues were $20 million unfavorable, while toll revenue was $13 million favorable and other operating revenue was $11 million favorable. Passenger revenues through April were $539 million, or 28% below passenger revenue in 2019, while toll revenue exceeded 2019 toll revenue by $52 million, or 8%. These changes from 2019 are adjusted to account for rate changes in both fares and tolls during this period. Operating subsidies on a year-to-date basis were $112 million, or 5% unfavorable. This reflects unfavorable mortgage recording tax of $51 million, urban tax of $49 million, payroll mobility tax of $47 million, MTA aid of $13 million for higher vehicle surcharge of $8 million, and automated camera enforcement of $8 million. Partially offsetting these results were a favorable petroleum business tax of $39 million, of which $36 million was due to a 2023 December receipt not transferred to the MTA until early January. Additionally, investment income was favorable by $18 million, and CDOT subsidy was favorable by $5 million. For April, operating subsidies were $54 million, or 10% unfavorable. Capital subsidies year-to-date through April were $22 million unfavorable, reflecting unfavorable receipts from the real property transfer tax surcharge, which is the mansion tax, and the timing of the transfer of receipts from the state component of the Internet Marketplace tax. Operating expenses year-to-date April were favorable by $14 million, less than 1%, and April expenses were favorable by $11 million, or 1%. I apologize, they were unfavorable in April. However, as noted earlier, this result is significantly impacted by the accounting adjustment of $43 million in April, and that would result in an April operating deficit, year-to-date April operating expense of $28 million, or 1%. Debt service expenses were $2 million, less than 1% favorable year-to-date April, and was $11 million, 5% favorable in April, reflecting timing of debt service accruals. There's further information in this month's financial performance report.
Thank you, David. Any questions for David? Did you have anything?
Thank you, David. Yeah, I mean, April is a similar story to the previous months where on the revenue side, we're seeing subway and bus ridership below that McKinsey mid, driven a lot by fare evasion, bus being the biggest culprit. The railroads are doing very well on ridership and revenue, as is bridge and tunnel. Subsidies, the real estate taxes continue to significantly underperform. And on the operating expense side, again, we're still seeing, we still have some wood to chop to get our operating expense down to the level in the budget. So, kind of same issue. Fortunately, with some savings on the operating side and the revenues we're seeing out of the bridge and tunnels and the railroads is kind of keeping things closer to overall budget. But
And we're still within the contingency.
and we're still within our contingency. So, it's again, I think it's seeing where we'll in the July plan, seeing where we're going to be able to forecast revenues given the trends we're seeing in particularly in subways and buses.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, David. Any other questions? Thank you, David. Moving on to finance with Joanne Feld.
Good afternoon. This month, I am reporting the results of one sale, the sale of $591,785,000 Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority Payroll Mobility Tax Senior Lien Green Bond, Series 2024B, which priced a couple weeks ago on May the 8th. Proceeds from this transaction are being used to retire $525,685,000 of TBTA Payroll Mobility Tax Bond Anticipation Note, Series 2022A, and to refund $115 million of certain transportation revenue bonds. And this sale just closed this morning on May the 20th.
Congratulations. Any questions for Joanne? Thank you, Joanne. And now we'll move on to David for headquarters and all agency items.
Thank you. The first item requests board approval to award George S. Hall, Inc., a publicly advertised and competitively solicited contract for the operation and maintenance of the new Grand Central Madison Terminal, and related facility assets in Manhattan and Queens. The contract is in the amount of $420,588,215.48 for a duration of 5 years. The contract includes 2 3-year extension options for an additional sum to be established in accordance with the contracted terms, which can be exercised at GCMOC's sole discretion. Evan Eisland is here to answer any questions.
Now, this is a large procurement, and this is for the maintenance. I understand there's negotiation. Evan, there you are. Could you walk us through a little bit about it and the background of it? Because this is a pretty large procurement.
Yeah, sure. So currently, we've been before the board previously with some interim maintenance agreements, one for elevators and escalators, one for back of house, one for the one for the concourse itself with some overlap. We've been working for a couple of years now on a long-term maintenance agreement, one operator to operate the facility as well as tunnel ventilation and certain systems that are pretty complicated. A lot of really great work. We have Paul Grether and Serge Leonardo here who negotiated this agreement. You can see in the staff summary, the original pricing for this was more than twice what we've got it down to. We've done a lot of soul searching in terms of what the actual needs are for the maintenance, how often we need to do preventative maintenance, ability to share risks. We've put some allowances in there for capital needs, for capital replacements as they come up, so we're not putting all of the risk onto the maintainer. In the end, I think we have a really strong deal. It's 5 years with 2 3-year options. Unlike a procurement that went earlier today, the option prices are not included in this number we're giving you, so we're looking at approximately $84 million a year, which I hope Kevin will tell you is right where he...
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, I'm hoping he will tell you is right where we budgeted.
Okay.
So we're
That was
right
my
on
question.
track here. I'm happy to answer any more questions, but that's sort of the overview.
Sure, David, you have a question?
Yeah, this is sort of a general question. I don't think this got into the committee books until Thursday or Friday. I'm slow.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding, I was filled in very late. My understanding, this was negotiated very, very recently. They just came to an agreement, within the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think that we didn't get our final number until the end of the day on Wednesday, and that's why it took so long.
This is more a general issue.
Yeah.
I think the dates have been slipping. We had an understanding a year ago or something that we tried to get it a week in advance, and that's been slowly edging back towards a day or two. I'm not good enough to analyze things that quickly.
I think it's a fair sentiment that, of course, especially with
This is not a criticism. I'm
Yeah.
going to vote for this.
On for form, I think it's a fair point to make that every attempt should be made. But in this particular case,
It was a reason.
yeah, and they negotiated down the wire, right? And I think the scope is consistent with what we feel our needs are, and it came right in where we budgeted, which is a big win from what was originally coming in as double the budget. So,
Yes.
any other questions on this procurement? Yep.
Yeah, again, I'll just reiterate, it was a great process that unfolded, because the team had to squeeze a lot more savings out in the last week and a half to meet what we have in the budget. So thank you to Paul and Serge over there who led a bigger team on negotiating a great price and getting it within our budget. So again, it's important. It's really important to get this delivered under budget, and it was a year-long project of scoping. And I think we benefited from operating for a year, so the interim operations could get a better benchmark on what the costs were before it went into a long-term contract. So I really want to thank the team and thank the chair who's not here, who really put the pressure on the team to get the price down and make sure we're delivering on budget. And so, great work.
Yeah, I think the fill-in chair gets all the credit the chair would have got because he didn't show up. I meant the chair of the whole board, but that chair. Oh, well, he's not here either, so I'm gonna take his credit too. So, yeah. Well, thank you, Kevin. With that, I'll unless there are any other questions, anyone like to make a motion? A motion by Lisa, second by David. All in favor? Any abstentions or oppositions? Motion carries. Thank you, Evan. I will now turn to Jessica Matthew for the second action item.
Great, thank you. The Office of the Chief Financial Officer is seeking MTA board approval to launch several temporary fare pilot promotions. The upcoming implementation of congestion pricing presents us with an opportunity to attract riders to transit with additional options for travel into the congestion relief zone that are affordable, fast, and convenient. In order to encourage more customers from Orange and Rockland counties to use east of Hudson Metro North service, the MTA is launching several promotions. First, MTA is proposing a temporary fare pilot promotion for a discount up to 10% of the total combined fare of certain monthly bus and ferry unit ticket products that connect riders that live in Orange and Rockland counties with Metro North Railroad service on the Harlem and Hudson lines. This mirrors the pilot announced last month for monthly fares for travel within New York City. Second, Metro North Railroad will be piloting summer weekend ferry service on the Haverstraw-Ossining Ferry. Currently, the service is only available on peak hours and on weekdays. The pilot is intended to encourage more discretionary ridership on weekends during the summer months. Metro North will also be offering Orange and Rockland County residents a 25% discount on monthly parking in the Metro North-owned North White Plains parking lot, which has sufficient capacity to absorb additional customers. And finally, on both Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad, the MTA is launching an additional pilot program known as Summer Saturdays. That is designed to promote weekend travel on both of the railroads. This program, which will run on Saturdays in the months of July and August of this year, allows monthly pass holders to travel to any destination on the railroad that issued their monthly pass with up to 2 additional people for $1 each. So thank you, and Andy Booter and I are here to answer any questions.
Just on the last item, and then I'll open up to questions. And I think is a response to some public comment. Are there any zone limitations on the monthly ticket summer?
No
summer
zone
status?
limitations.
Okay.
Any monthly pass holder can take advantage.
Terrific. We love fair pilots to help encourage ridership. Any other questions on these fair pilots? Yep. Everyone seems very happy. Thank you, Jessica. Do I have a motion? Motion by Lisa, second by Jamie. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Thank you. David, back to you.
Thank you. The MTA Finance Department is seeking MTA and TBTA board approval for the refunding of outstanding taxable Build America bonds with tax-exempt debt if refunding such bonds is determined to be in the MTA's interest by the MTA Chief Financial Officer. Olga Chanat's not available today, but if there are any questions, Kevin can answer them.
Any questions? We have a motion. Motion by Heda, second. Second by Mark. All in favor? Any abstentions or oppositions? So moved. David?
The next item is the 2023 Annual Investment Report, which pursuant to the requirements of Section 2925 of the Public Authorities Law, provides the MTA Board with information on MTA portfolio investment performance for 2023. We are requesting board approval of 1, the 2023 Annual Investment Report, and 2, the revised MTA All-Agency Investment Guidelines. Scott Gerstner is available if there are any questions.
Does anyone have questions for Scott? May I have a motion? Motion by Hayes, second by Mark. All in favor? Any abstentions, oppositions? So moved. Thank you, David. Now we move to Lizette with all agency and headquarters procurements for the month.
There are 2 information items this month, both for Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad, approved by their respective committee. The first is a request that the board approve the award of a 7-year non-competitive miscellaneous service contract to continue administering the mobile ticketing program for Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad to Masabi LLC. Included in the contract is 1 5-year option. The second item is a request that the board approve the award of a 5.5-year non-competitive miscellaneous service contract to replace and upgrade the fare collection solution for Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad to Scheiden-Bachmann, USA. Included in the contract are 2 5-year options. There are no information items for bridges and tunnels this month, and there are no information items for New York City Transit this month.
If you have any question on this, you either weren't paying attention this morning or have a very short memory. So I'm just going to assume nobody has questions and ask for a motion. A motion by Mark, second by Lisa. Oh, no, these are information items, I'm sorry. No, got it. It's a script. It was a setup page. It was set up.
I know, it's not your fault.
We already did many conversations, many motions, many votes on this. So thank you, Lizette. Information items, David, please take us to the information items.
The first item is to advise the board of the submission of station maintenance billings to New York City and the counties for maintenance of Long Island Railroad and Metro North stations for the April 1st, 2023 through March 31, 2024 period. These bills are based on statutorily established formula adjusted annually by the regional CPIW. The net increase in the CPI factor for these 12 months was 3.673%, which results in $7,279,852 increase over the prior year's billed amount. And Jim McGovern is available if there are any questions.
We have any questions for Jim? Having none, David, back to you.
The second item is the annual review of MTA-sponsored pension and retirement funds, which can be found in the committee materials, and Stephen Rossiello is available if there are any questions.
And all that information is in your book. Any questions for Stephen? Keep going, David.
And the third item is the MTA financial statements for the years ending December 31, 2023 and December 31, 2022. And Jim McGovern is available if there are any questions.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, David. There are no information items on agency procurements this month. Claudia Rubin and Loudwin Pemberton will now give a presentation on the 2023 activities and operation of the First Mutual Transportation Assurance Company, otherwise known as MTAC, which will be holding its annual meeting later this week during the board meeting. Claudia?
Good afternoon. I'll be presenting a brief overview on activities of our MTA insured.
Claudia, you just speak into the mic a little bit more? It's a little difficult to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Better?
Yep. Thanks.
So I'll be providing a brief overview on activities of MTA's captive insurer, First Mutual Transportation Assurance Company, FMTAC. My colleague, Loudwin Pemberton, will be presenting on the investment activities of the captive. And here today, we also have our insurance broker, Lauren Gregory from Alliant, Nicole Tracet from Willis, and Chris Russen from Davis Captive Management to answer any questions. The annual report, which is available to you before today's meeting. In that report, you will find the audited financial statement, actuarial report, investment report, and a newsletter on the first section of the book, which provides a brief overview of the operations of the captive. As many of you may know, FMTA was the first pure captive insurer in New York State and is licensed to place insurance and reinsurance programs on behalf of the MTA and its agencies. There are currently 3 officers of the captive, myself included, Claudia Rubin, Acting Director of Risk, Loudwin Pemberton, Acting Director of the OSEP Programs, and Robin Cooper, Deputy Director of Claims. There are a number of insurance programs that we utilize our captive. Some of those programs are our property insurance, excess liability, terrorism, stations and force, the owner-controlled insurance program, auto liability, and the all-agency protective liability. For the year ending 12/31/2023, FMTAC incurred a net gain of $82 million, resulting from operating revenues of $34 million and net income, investment income, $48 million. FMTAC net position increased to $275 million from $193 million the year prior. Accordingly, FMTAC key ratios, which measures the financial strength and adequacy of reserves, improved in every category and remained well within favorable insurance industry recommended levels. In addition, FMTAC actuary provided a positive statement of actuarial opinion regarding FMTAC's reserves and FMTAC's compliance with all the relevant requirements and regulatory filings under the New York State insurance laws. Overall, FMTA had a great year, and its balance sheet grew the financial strength of the captive. The most recent renewal was our property renewal, renewed May 1st, 2021. For the property program, we secure capacity through the global reinsurance marketplace and capital markets. Some of the highlights and we're seeing is that insurers have been very profitable in 2023, which has stabilized the property marketplace during the first quarter of 2024. However, risk classes such as rail and infrastructure do remain difficult assets to insure. For the 2024 renewal, FEMTAC purchased $230 million of capacity at a cost of $29 million, as compared to 2022, where we procured $353 million of capacity at a cost of $40 million. Some of the challenges, large property losses, Ida and COVID, and most recently we have seen bridge collapse and derailments. Some of large reinsurers reduced capacity for the year 2024, and some withdrew some of the capacity. Nevertheless, those markets that did provide capacity quoted either flat or very small increases of 1% to 3%, mainly from London markets. And that concludes my presentation. I'll turn it over to Lowen.
Sam?
David?
I think we're talking, what, do we have sort of, I think you may have explained this actually. In the event of a major loss, do we have other insurers who will step in? Are we buying that kind of supplemental insurance in case it exceeds a certain amount? This is the common thing when we had this disaster in Maryland. I mean, suddenly, you know, one insurer can't handle the thing, and they bought some other supplemental insurance.
So we do have a number of insurers in our program, 30 plus markets insuring our program. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry to get it.
Claudia, what's the total property insurance we were able to procure this year?
$230 million in capacity.
So 230 million is the limit, which is way down. If you look back at the history of MTA, we used to get $1 billion of coverage, and then it dropped to 500. The year before, it was 350-ish or something.
353,
and it's dropped another 100+ million. So I think the point is, we go out and market and try to get, you know, insurance from syndicates all over the globe, but because infrastructure assets are much harder to insure, we're getting offered less and less coverage at higher and higher prices. So that's why it's, you know, so important for us to do the hardening projects and the resiliency projects, and to really know where the risks are that we can mitigate. So when it's either storm surge or the heavy rains, we can keep the losses contained, because gone are the days where you have cheap insurance that will cover. Yeah. So.
Yeah, relatively speaking, 230 million of capacity for an agency. We've heard this over and over. But with assets valued at $1.5 trillion, it's a very fractional.
We do also have a catastrophe bond for, what's the dollar amount on that?
Million.
100 million. So that's based on if there's storm surge, it's a trigger event. If there's storm surge at the battery or out in the sound, we would get another $100 million payment. And of course, in the big disasters, FEMA has been the insurer of last resort, which we can't always depend on. But again, our risks only increase or become harder and harder to lay off, and it's it's tough.
Yeah, and just all these things kind of related also. Emphasizes why we need to be also paying attention to state of grid repair, because of any number of unforeseen circumstances on our older system could lead to something that could be much more costly if something should fail. So, are there any other questions on FemTech?
Yeah.
The investment. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Lord Pemberton, Acting Deputy Director of Risk and Insurance Management, also contract manager for FemTech Investments. Today I'll be going over FemTech aggregate portfolio for year ending 2023. First Mutual Transportation Insurance Company, better known as FemTech, is an insurance captive with assets invested in high-quality fixed income securities. The net asset value for this portfolio is approximately $880 million, comprised of 8 investment trusts. In aggregate, the largest allocations are to U.S. Treasuries at 43% and mortgage-backed securities at 21%. About 85% of the market value of the bonds are rated AA or better with an average duration of 4.5 years. In August 2023, U.S. government debt was downgraded from AAA to AA plus, as noted in the pie chart, and the biggest change from 2022 to 2023. For the first year period ending 12/31/23, the funds returned 5.52 as compared to the Bloomberg Intermediate Aggregate Benchmark return of 5.18. The portfolio has also outperformed benchmark over the trailing 3 and 5 year periods as shown on the graph. We broke out individual year performances on this slide to showcase FIMTAC's performance during the volatile up and down markets of the past 4 years. Steve Rosciello, MTA Chief Investment Officer, is also here to help answer any questions you might have regarding this presentation and the larger BlackRock presentation included in tab 6 of your board book. Thank you.
Can you point to any can you attribute the performance, the dip in 2022, just generally, or is it a number of things?
Which slide would you like?
The one we're on, right? No, the just slide we were just on.
2020.
Yeah, we have 20, 21, 22.
Essentially, I think as Laudwin mentioned,
can't
all
see
the investment portfolios, fixed income securities. So 2022, interest rates went up a lot. So the value of all our 5 and 10-year bonds go down. So that portfolio swings up and down on a mark-to-market basis, but it's invested similar to other, kind of insurance.
Yeah, but
companies
we clearly weren't out of sync. In fact, we weathered it a touch better than, Okay.
Yeah,
and
right.
we beat the benchmark, and that's basically.
But the portfolio will move with interest rates. If rates go up, then the value of our bonds go down and vice versa. So
Could you let the world know what interest rates are going to do, Kevin, while we're here, while we're all together?
As soon as I know, I will let you know.
Any other questions for the team? Go ahead, Andrew.
Is it too early to have preliminary 2024 numbers, like for the first?
For the first quarter?
Yeah.
I
think it's not part of the presentation, but we do have that information. We do have March 31.
Yeah. We can get that for you, Andrew. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Claudia Laudwin. Appreciate it. Now, your MTA consolidated reports can be found in the committee book, and now we'll move on to real estate. David?
Thank you. Real estate has 1 administrative and 3 transactional action items for consideration and approval. The administrative action item is for MTA Metro North, and it is an eminent domain procedural or determination and findings related to the acquisition of property interest for Metro North's Claremont substation project in the Bronx. The second and third action items are transactional for the MTA and include a lease agreement with Gotham Market Bites Corporation for retail space here at 2 Broadway, and an amendment to license agreements with Compass Group to install vending machines throughout the MTA system. The fourth action item is also transactional for MTA Metro North and is a permanent easement with the Tarrytown Municipal Housing Authority for vehicle parking adjacent to Metro North Tarrytown Station. There are 2 information items. The first is for MTA Metro North Railroad and is a short-term parking permit between Metro North and the town of Austin for use of our parking lots at Austin Station. And the second is the report on agreements entered into directly by the Real Estate Department pursuant to board policy. Happy to answer any questions regarding any of the foregoing.
Thank you, David. Lisa,
You know I was coming with the Bronx questions, right? Can you walk me through a little bit more about, because I've gotten calls on that property for an eminent domain on the Bronx property. Can you give me a little history on that one, if you don't mind?
This is an additional substation for the Harlem Line. It's a vacant property that the railroad identified as being optimal for a new substation location. And we moved ahead with a board resolution some months ago to begin the process, either by eminent domain or negotiated settlement. Right now, there is no negotiated settlement that we're in sight, so we're moving ahead with our action.
Can you give me the address on that one again?
It's, hang on. 3876 and 3880 Park Avenue in the Bronx.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you can follow up with any questions on the property. Any other questions for David? Seeing none, any a motion of procurements? What's that? Yeah. A motion? Motion.
So
Ada,
moved.
second. Mark, all in favor? Any oppositions, abstentions? Actions carry. Anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Jamie, second by Lisa. All in favor? Great. See you Wednesday. Should anyone want like a 45-minute executive session? Motion.